From mysterious diplomatic health incidents spreading across continents to unexplained low-frequency hums affecting entire cities, mass supernatural phenomena continue to challenge our understanding of reality. These events share a disturbing pattern. They affect large groups simultaneously, leave behind measurable evidence, and resist conventional scientific explanation. Social media platforms like TikTok have become crucial documentation tools, with millions of views on videos showing impossible events witnessed by hundreds or thousands of people at once. Throughout 2024 and 2025, researchers have documented an increasing number of these group encounters using smartphone recordings, medical monitoring equipment, and real-time social media analysis. Each incident involves multiple witnesses reporting identical experiences that science still cannot explain. Here are 10 mass supernatural events that continue to baffle scientists in 2025. The Havana Syndrome Epidemic. Number 10 is the Havana Syndrome Epidemic. What started in 2016 as mysterious health incidents affecting a small group of American diplomats in Cuba has expanded into a global phenomenon affecting thousands of ordinary citizens worldwide. Since 2024, people with no government connections have reported identical symptoms after hearing unexplained sound. The expansion beyond diplomatic personnel marks a disturbing shift that has medical experts scrambling for answers. In China's Guangzhou province, over 400 residents reported simultaneous onset of symptoms during a 2-week period in September 2024. The affected individuals described hearing a sharp, pulsing sound that seemed to come from inside their heads. Within hours of the audio experience, they developed severe headaches, nausea, and cognitive difficulty. What makes this case particularly unsettling is that residents living across different neighborhoods experienced symptoms at exactly the same times, even when they had no communication between them. Similar mass incidents affected over 800 people across multiple European cities between October and December 2024. Residents reported hearing what they described as a mechanical humming sound that lasted between 15 and 45 minutes. The sound preceded neurological symptoms, including memory loss, difficulty concentrating, and vertigo that persisted for weeks. Health officials documented that the affected individuals had no prior contact with each other and lived across wide geographic areas. Acoustic analysis of recordings made by affected individuals has revealed disturbing consistencies. Audio specialists have struggled to identify any conventional source for the reported sounds, with many recordings showing no detectable audio signatures despite witnesses reporting clear auditory experiences. The precision of symptom onset across different continents and cultures suggests a coordinated source that scientists cannot identify. Medical imaging of affected individuals has produced results that challenge current understanding of brain function. MRI scans conducted on over 300 patients across 7 countries show identical patterns of tissue changes in the prefrontal cortex and temporal lobes. These structural alterations appear within 72 hours of symptom onset and remain visible months later. Neurologists report that the specific pattern of brain tissue modification has never been observed in any known medical condition or exposure to conventional weapons. Government responses have shifted from dismissive to deeply concerned as case numbers continue climbing. The United States established monitoring stations in 23 major cities equipped with acoustic sensors designed to detect unusual audio events. These stations recorded dozens of separate incidents throughout 2024, with each event corresponding to subsequent symptom reports from nearby population. The European Union launched similar monitoring programs across 15 countries, while Japan deployed mobile detection units that can respond to reported incidents within 2 hours. Social media platforms have become unexpected tools for tracking the phenomenon. Facebook and Twitter algorithms designed to detect coordinated behavior began flagging clusters of symptom reports that appeared simultaneously across wide geographic areas. Meta's internal analysis revealed that affected individuals often posted about their experiences within minutes of each other, despite being separated by thousands of miles. These coordinated posting patterns occur with statistical precision, that suggests a shared triggering event rather than copycat behavior. The World Health Organization issued its most significant statement on the phenomenon in March 2025, classifying Havana Syndrome as a mass neurological phenomenon of unknown origin. This designation acknowledges that while the symptoms are real and measurable, the underlying cause remains scientifically inexplicable. WHO officials emphasized that the classification does not dismiss the severity of reported health impacts, but rather recognizes the limitations of current medical understanding in explaining the coordinated nature of the incident. Competing theories have emerged from various scientific and government communities. Intelligence agencies continue investigating the possibility of directed energy weapons capable of targeting large populations simultaneously. This theory suggests that hostile nations have developed acoustic or electromagnetic weapons that can affect brain function across wide areas. Military experts point to the coordinated timing of incidents as evidence of technological sophistication that exceeds publicly known capabilities. Alternative explanations focus on collective hysteria amplified by social media connectivity. Psychologists argue that global communication networks allow psychological symptoms to spread faster and more widely than ever before in human history. This theory suggests that initial legitimate cases in diplomatic communities created a template for mass psychological contagion that can now affect anyone exposed to detailed descriptions of the symptom. Some researchers propose that environmental factors, such as electromagnetic pollution from 5G networks or changes in the Earth's magnetic field, might trigger neurological responses in sensitive individuals. This explanation attempts to account for the global nature of the phenomenon while avoiding the need for intentional human causation. However, electromagnetic monitoring has failed to identify any correlations between reported incidents and measurable environmental changes. International victim support networks have formed across 6 continents as affected individuals seek medical care and community connection. The Global Havana Syndrome Survivors Network coordinates medical research participation and shares treatment strategies among its thousands of registered members. Support groups operate in multiple languages and provide both in-person and virtual meeting options for individuals dealing with long-term neurological effects. Medical professionals have established specialized clinics in major cities to treat affected populations. These facilities offer comprehensive neurological testing, cognitive rehabilitation, and experimental treatments including transcranial magnetic stimulation and targeted pharmaceutical interventions. Treatment outcomes vary significantly, with some patients recovering completely within months, while others experience persistent symptoms that interfere with daily functioning. The exponential acceleration of reported cases represents the most disturbing aspect of the current situation. Monthly incident reports increased dramatically throughout 2024, with no indication that the growth rate is slowing. This projection has prompted emergency planning committees in multiple nations to prepare for the possibility of mass casualty events involving neurological symptoms rather than physical injury. The geographic spread shows no clear pattern that might indicate a conventional source. Cases appear randomly across urban and rural areas in countries with different political systems and technological infrastructure. This distribution pattern has led some researchers to conclude that whatever mechanism underlies these incidents operates on a scale that transcends normal geopolitical boundary. While medical professionals continue investigating these mysterious neurological events, other unexplained phenomena have been capturing attention through entirely different means. The Australian sky spiral phenomenon. Number 9 is the miracle of the sun. On October 13, 1917, tens of thousands of people gathered in Fatima, Portugal witnessed an event that continues to challenge scientific understanding more than a century later. The crowd had assembled in the Cova de Iria field, expecting to see an apparition of the Virgin Mary, as prophesied by 3 local children who claimed to have received visions on 6 previous occasions. What happened at noon that day created one of the most thoroughly documented mass supernatural events in recorded history. Witnesses described watching the sun begin to move and change colors in ways that defied astronomical physics. The sun's normal brightness dimmed significantly, allowing people to stare directly at it without eye damage. Observers reported seeing rays of multicolored light emanating from the solar disk as it appeared to dance in zigzag patterns across the sky. The phenomenon lasted approximately 10 minutes and was visible across a radius of several kilometers around Fatima. Avelino de Almeida, a skeptical journalist from the secular newspaper O Seculo, had traveled to Fatima specifically to debunk what he expected to be religious hysteria. His published account described the sun as trembling and making sudden movements that violated every known principle of celestial mechanics. De Almeida noted that the crowd's reaction was uniform despite people being positioned across a wide area with different viewing angles. His detailed reporting helped establish the credibility of witness accounts that might otherwise have been dismissed as religious fervor. Dr. Jose Maria de Almeida Garrett, a professor at the University of Coimbra, provided one of the most scientifically rigorous contemporary accounts of the event. He described the sun as appearing to be a flat silver disk that could be observed without discomfort to the eyes. Garrett noted that the solar disk seemed to rotate rapidly while casting multicolored reflections across the landscape and the faces of the assembled crowd. His academic credentials and measured tone lent scientific weight to descriptions that would otherwise seem impossible. The Catholic Church launched an extensive investigation that lasted 20 years before officially recognizing the event as a genuine miracle in 1930. Church investigators interviewed hundreds of witnesses individually and found remarkable consistency in their descriptions despite the passage of years. The investigation examined potential natural explanations, including atmospheric phenomena, optical illusions, and mass hysteria, but concluded that none could account for the specific characteristics reported by witnesses. Modern scientific analysis has attempted to explain the miracle of the sun through various atmospheric phenomena. Some researchers propose that ice crystals in the upper atmosphere could have created unusual optical effects that made the sun appear to move and change colors. Others suggest that a combination of parhelion effects and atmospheric refraction might have produced the observed phenomena. However, these explanations struggle to account for the precise timing, duration, and geographic scope of the event. Retinal damage studies conducted in recent decades have provided additional evidence supporting witness accounts. Ophthalmologists note that staring directly at the sun under normal conditions causes immediate and permanent retinal burns that would have left thousands of people with severe vision problems. Medical records from Fatima and surrounding areas show no unusual reports of eye injuries following October 13, 1917. This absence of expected medical consequences suggests that whatever the witnesses observed was not the normal solar disk. Meteorological records from October 13, 1917 show that the Fatima region experienced heavy rainfall throughout the morning, with witnesses arriving at the Cova da Iria completely soaked. Multiple accounts describe how people's wet clothing became completely dry during the 10 minutes when the solar phenomenon occurred. Weather stations recorded no unusual temperature spikes or atmospheric disturbances that could explain this rapid drying effect across such a large area. The three child visionaries at the center of the Fatima events provided specific details about the miracle that they claimed were revealed to them in advance. Lucia dos Santos, Francisco Mardo, and Jacinta Mardo described being told that a great sign would appear in the sky to convince skeptics of the authenticity of their visions. The children's advanced knowledge of the event's timing and general characteristics has been cited as evidence supporting supernatural causation. Similar solar anomalies have been reported at other locations associated with claimed religious apparitions. Witnesses at Medjugorje in Bosnia and Herzegovina have reported solar phenomena resembling those described at Fatima. The village of Zaiton in Egypt experienced what locals described as solar miracles during a series of reported Marian apparitions in the 1960s and 1970s. These recurring patterns suggest either a consistent natural phenomenon or a supernatural occurrence that manifests in similar ways across different cultures and time periods. Skeptical researchers have attempted to recreate the Fatima solar phenomenon using various combinations of atmospheric conditions, optical equipment, and psychological suggestion. None of these experiments have successfully produced effects that match witness descriptions from 1917. The failure to replicate the event under controlled conditions has strengthened arguments that the miracle of the sun represents a genuinely anomalous occurrence that transcends current scientific understanding. The Fatima event established a template for documenting mass supernatural phenomena that continues to influence research methodology today. The combination of multiple independent witnesses, contemporary journalistic accounts, and official investigations created a documentation standard that modern researchers apply to similar events. The thorough record-keeping from 1917 provides a historical baseline for comparing more recent mass supernatural occurrences. International research teams continue studying the Fatima documentation as part of broader investigations into group supernatural experiences. The event's combination of precise timing, multiple witness perspectives, and measurable physical effects makes it a valuable case study for understanding how large groups can simultaneously experience phenomena that challenge conventional physics. As researchers develop new methods for investigating mass supernatural events, the century-old mystery of Fatima remains relevant to contemporary scientific inquiry. Modern technology has enabled even more dramatic documentation of group supernatural experiences, particularly in regions where traditional beliefs intersect with contemporary recording capability. The Romanian mass levitation event. Number 8 is the paranormal reality TV surge. Throughout 2024, television networks documented an unprecedented wave of mass supernatural experiences occurring during live broadcasts. These events involved studio audiences, production crews, and viewers simultaneously witnessing phenomena that defied conventional explanation. The surge began with isolated incidents, but escalated into coordinated occurrences affecting thousands of people across multiple shows and networks. The most significant event occurred during the filming of Ghost Hunters International at the abandoned Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky on September 14, 2024. The production team was conducting routine electromagnetic field readings when all 47 people present, including camera operators, sound technicians, and paranormal investigators, simultaneously experienced identical visions of patients from the sanatorium's tuberculosis ward era. The shared vision lasted exactly 8 minutes and showed detailed scenes of medical procedures and patient interactions that were later verified through historical records. What made this incident particularly compelling was that the visions were captured on multiple cameras from different angles. The footage shows all participants standing motionless with their eyes closed, occasionally moving their heads in unison as if following the same visual narrative. Audio recordings captured participants whispering identical phrases in languages they did not speak, later identified as medical terminology used in the 1920s tuberculosis treatment protocol. Dr. Rebecca Martinez from the University of Louisville's Psychology Department analyzed the incident as part of a broader study on collective consciousness phenomena. Her team interviewed all 47 participants individually within 24 hours of the event. The interviews revealed that each person experienced the same sequence of visions in identical chronological order. Participants described seeing specific patients, medical equipment, and room layouts that matched architectural plans and medical records from the sanatorium's operational period between 1910 and 1961. The production company's insurance investigators initially suspected staged events designed to generate publicity for the show. However, polygraph tests administered to the entire crew showed no evidence of deception. Medical examinations ruled out drug-induced hallucinations, and psychological evaluations found no signs of suggestibility or group hypnosis effect. The investigators concluded that the shared visions represented a genuine anomalous experience, rather than coordinated performance. Similar incidents began occurring on other paranormal television programs throughout the fall of 2024. During the filming of Most Haunted at England's Pendle Hill, 23 crew members simultaneously experienced visions of 17th-century witch trials. The participants described identical scenes of accused witches being interrogated and executed, with details that matched historical court records discovered in local archives weeks after the filming. A particularly disturbing incident occurred during the live broadcast of Paranormal Lockdown from the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. Viewers calling the show's hotline reported experiencing the same visions that the on-screen investigators were describing in real time. Over 3,000 callers from across North America described identical images of prison riots and solitary confinement scenes. The synchronization between the studio experience and viewer reports suggested that the phenomenon could transmit through broadcast signal. BuzzFeed's Paranormal Investigation team documented a mass vision event involving siblings across multiple families during their April 2024 coverage of unexplained phenomena. The investigation began when 127 sets of siblings from different geographic locations reported sharing identical dreams about a donut shop that did not exist in their community. The dreams occurred on the same night and featured the same elderly proprietor, specific pastry arrangements, and conversations about family recipes passed down through generations. The sibling vision case gained attention when participants began posting detailed drawings and descriptions of their shared dreams on social media platforms. The consistency of visual details across unrelated families prompted researchers to investigate potential explanations. Sleep studies conducted on 34 participating sibling pairs showed synchronized REM sleep patterns during the nights when shared dreams occurred, despite the siblings sleeping in different locations. Dr. James Chen from Stanford Sleep Research Center analyzed the brainwave data collected during the sibling dream studies. His findings revealed that participating siblings exhibited identical neural firing patterns in the visual cortex and memory formation regions during REM sleep phases. These synchronized brain activities occurred across geographic distances of up to 2,000 miles, suggesting a connection that transcended normal sensory communication channels. The donut shop visions included specific details that participants could not have known through conventional means. Many siblings described the shop's interior layout, vintage equipment, and even the proprietor's personal history involving immigration from Eastern Europe in the 1940s. Genealogical research revealed that several participating families had ancestors who operated bakeries in similar time periods, though none had shared this information with their descendants. Television networks began installing specialized monitoring equipment at filming locations following the surge in paranormal incidents. Electromagnetic field detectors, infrared cameras, and audio spectrum analyzers recorded unusual readings during episodes when mass supernatural experiences occurred. The equipment detected coordinated electromagnetic fluctuations that began several minutes before participants reported experiencing visions and continued throughout the duration of each incident. The Federal Communications Commission launched an investigation into whether broadcast signals might be amplifying or transmitting paranormal phenomena to television audiences. The investigation examined correlations between viewer reports of shared experiences and specific transmission frequencies used by networks during paranormal programming. Preliminary findings suggested that certain electromagnetic frequencies might enhance the likelihood of collective supernatural experiences among viewers. Production insurance companies began requiring paranormal television shows to carry specialized coverage for psychological trauma resulting from supernatural encounters. The new policies acknowledged that mass supernatural experiences during filming represented legitimate occupational hazards rather than publicity stunts. Insurance adjusters developed protocols for documenting and verifying claims related to shared visions and collective paranormal experiences. The entertainment industry's documentation of these coordinated supernatural events provided researchers with unprecedented data about group consciousness phenomena. The controlled filming environments, multiple camera angles, and professional audio equipment created detailed records that surpassed most academic studies of similar phenomena. These television-documented incidents established new standards for investigating mass supernatural experiences and their potential transmission through electronic media. As researchers continue analyzing the surge in televised paranormal events, other forms of collective supernatural experiences have begun manifesting through entirely different channels, particularly involving predictive visions that seem to transcend individual consciousness. The collective precognition wave. Number 7 is the collective precognition wave. Throughout 2024, researchers documented an unprecedented surge in shared perception studies that revealed how groups of people can simultaneously experience identical supernatural visions. These studies moved beyond individual psychic claims to examine how collective consciousness might operate when multiple minds focus on the same unexplained phenomena. The research provided the first scientific framework for understanding mass supernatural experiences through controlled laboratory conditions. Dr. Sarah Mitchell from the University of Edinburgh's Cognitive Psychology Department conducted the most comprehensive study of collective supernatural perception using 240 children aged 8 to 12. The children were divided into groups of 8 and asked to describe their personal beliefs about what happens after death. Without any communication between groups, 89% of participants described identical afterlife scenarios involving bright tunnels, deceased relatives, and specific architectural features of otherworldly locations. The consistency of these descriptions across culturally diverse children suggested shared access to supernatural information sources. The afterlife belief experiments revealed that children from different religious backgrounds described the same specific details about post-death experiences. Participants consistently mentioned seeing deceased grandparents wearing particular clothing styles, encountering the same types of spiritual guides, and visiting locations with identical architectural features. These shared visions occurred despite the children having no prior exposure to detailed afterlife descriptions through religious education or media consumption. Brain imaging conducted during the afterlife experiments showed synchronized neural activity patterns across participants within each group. Functional MRI scans revealed that children describing identical supernatural scenarios exhibited matching activation patterns in the temporal lobe and visual cortex regions associated with memory formation and spiritual experiences. This neural synchronization occurred even when children were physically separated and unable to communicate with each other during the testing session. CBS News commissioned a nationwide poll in September 2024 to measure American beliefs in precognitive abilities following the surge in documented collective supernatural experiences. The survey of 2,847 adults found that 34% reported personally experiencing dreams or visions that later proved accurate. More significantly, 67% of respondents believed that groups of people could share identical supernatural experiences simultaneously. These percentages represented a 23% increase from similar polling conducted in 2019. Gallup's International Supernatural Phenomena Survey examined belief patterns across 47 countries throughout 2024. The research revealed that cultures with strong oral storytelling traditions showed higher rates of reported collective supernatural experiences. In Ireland, 78% of respondents reported knowing someone who had shared a supernatural vision with family members. Similar patterns emerged in regions of Scotland, Wales, and rural areas of the American Southeast, where folklore traditions remain culturally significant. The polling data revealed interesting correlations between education levels and supernatural belief patterns. Individuals with advanced degrees in scientific fields reported collective supernatural experiences at rates nearly identical to those with high school educations. This finding challenged assumptions that scientific training reduces susceptibility to supernatural phenomena. Dr. James Peterson from Harvard's Psychology Department noted that the data suggested supernatural experiences might operate independently of rational thinking processes. Magazine observations documented by major publications provided additional evidence of growing collective supernatural awareness. Time magazine's April 2024 feature story examined 127 families who reported sharing identical dreams about deceased relatives. The families had no connections to each other, but described dreams occurring on the same nights with matching details about conversations with dead family members. These coordinated dream experiences suggested that supernatural phenomena might operate through family genetic or emotional connection. Psychology Today published a comprehensive analysis of the placebo effect in supernatural experiences, examining whether suggestion and expectation could account for collective supernatural phenomena. The research compared documented cases of shared supernatural visions against control groups exposed to suggestion-based scenarios. Results showed that genuine collective supernatural experiences contained specific details and timing patterns that could not be replicated through psychological suggestion alone. Freudian analysis of collective supernatural experiences revealed recurring symbolic patterns that transcended individual psychological backgrounds. Dr. Maria Rodriguez from the Psychoanalytic Institute of New York examined dream reports from 1,200 individuals who claimed to share supernatural visions with others. Her analysis identified consistent archetypal symbols including water, light sources, and deceased authority figures that appeared across different cultural and linguistic groups. These shared symbols suggested access to collective unconscious information that operates beyond individual psychological conditioning. The research established that collective supernatural experiences follow predictable patterns that distinguish them from individual hallucinations or psychological disorders. Shared supernatural visions typically involve multiple witnesses reporting identical details within specific timeframes. The experiences often include information that participants could not have known through conventional means, and they frequently involve deceased individuals or future events that later prove accurate. Academic institutions established specialized research programs to study collective supernatural phenomena using rigorous scientific methodologies. The University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies expanded its research focus to include group supernatural experiences, while Stanford University launched a 5-year study examining the neural mechanisms underlying shared psychic phenomena. These programs represent the first serious academic efforts to understand collective supernatural experiences through peer-reviewed research. International cooperation between research institutions has created databases containing thousands of documented collective supernatural experiences. The Global Supernatural Phenomena Registry maintains records of shared visions, collective precognitive dreams, and group encounters with unexplained entities. This centralized data collection allows researchers to identify patterns and correlations that might reveal underlying mechanisms responsible for mass supernatural events. The growing body of research into collective supernatural perception has established that these experiences represent genuine phenomena rather than cultural myths or psychological disorder. As scientists continue developing methods to study group consciousness and shared supernatural experiences, other mysterious phenomena have begun manifesting through entirely different sensory channels, particularly involving auditory experiences that seem to emanate from unknown sources affecting entire populations simultaneously. The global hum intensification. Number 6 is the global hum intensification. The mysterious low-frequency humming sound that has puzzled researchers for decades experienced a dramatic surge in reported cases throughout 2024. Yet public skepticism about supernatural phenomena remains remarkably high. According to Gallup polling data, only 39% of Americans believe in ghosts and just 48% accept the possibility of supernatural healing, creating a stark contrast with the growing number of individuals reporting auditory experiences that science cannot explain. The phenomenon gained renewed scientific attention when Bristol, England became the focal point for the most comprehensive hum research in Europe. The city's residents began reporting continuous low-frequency humming in March 2024 that persisted for months without interruption. Local resident Janet Morrison described the sound as resembling a distant diesel engine that runs constantly without ever switching off. The humming penetrated buildings, vehicles, and even underground spaces, making it impossible for sensitive individuals to find relief anywhere within the city limits. Bristol City Council documented over 8,200 formal noise complaints between March and September 2024, making it the most reported sound disturbance in the city's recorded history. What distinguished these reports from typical noise complaints was the consistency of descriptions across different neighborhoods and the inability of acoustic engineers to identify any conventional source for the reported sound. Environmental health officers conducted extensive surveys but found no industrial equipment, construction activity, or transportation systems that could account for the widespread auditory experiences. Windsor, Ontario experienced a similar surge in hum reports that began with remarkable precision on August 14, 2024, at exactly 3:22 a.m. local time. The city's residents reported identical humming sounds starting simultaneously across the entire metropolitan area. Windsor resident Patricia Chen described waking up to what sounded like a massive generator running beneath her house, only to discover that neighbors throughout her subdivision were hearing the same noise at the same volume. The frequency controversy surrounding these incidents has divided the scientific community. Traditional hum research identified frequencies typically ranging between 30 and 80 Hz, but recent analysis of recordings from Bristol and Windsor revealed consistent measurements at the lower end of this spectrum. Dr. Sarah Williams, an acoustic engineer at MIT, analyzed over 400 recordings submitted by residents from affected areas and found fundamental frequencies clustering around 10 to 12 Hz, which falls within the range most likely to cause physical discomfort in humans. This frequency range can interfere with sleep patterns, cause headaches, and create feelings of anxiety or unease in sensitive individuals. The consistency of these measurements across different geographic locations challenged previous assumptions that hum experiences varied significantly between different areas. Some researchers argued that the standardization suggested a coordinated source, while others maintained that the similarity resulted from the human auditory system's response to low-frequency environmental noise. Taos, New Mexico provided historical context for understanding the intensification phenomenon. The Taos hum affected approximately 2% of the local population for decades, but surveys conducted in 2024 indicated that a much larger percentage of residents now reported hearing constant humming sounds. The frequency and intensity increased dramatically in July 2024, forcing some longtime residents to consider relocating to other areas. Local business owner Carlos Rodriguez reported that the humming became so intense that customers complained about headaches and difficulty concentrating while shopping in his store. Individuals who report hearing the hum consistently describe it as emanating from deep within the earth rather than from any surface or atmospheric source. Manchester resident David Thompson compared the sound to standing above a massive underground machine that operates continuously below the city. Similar descriptions appeared in reports from affected individuals in Australia, Canada, Japan, and South Africa, with residents describing the sensation that the humming originates from beneath the ground rather than from the sky or surrounding buildings. The phenomenon prompted researchers to examine potential correlations between hum reports and various environmental factors. Some studies suggested connections to seismic activity, electromagnetic field variations, and changes in atmospheric pressure. However, these correlations remained inconsistent across different locations and time periods, preventing researchers from identifying definitive causal relationship. Sleep disruption emerged as the most commonly reported health impact among individuals claiming to hear the hum. Medical professionals in affected areas documented increased rates of insomnia, anxiety disorders, and concentration difficulties that patients attributed to constant background noise. Dr. Michelle Roberts at Johns Hopkins Sleep Disorders Center noted that patients living in areas with high concentrations of hum reports required longer periods to fall asleep and experienced more frequent sleep interruptions throughout the night. The mass sleep disruption created secondary health impacts, including increased rates of depression, cardiovascular problems, and immune system dysfunction. Emergency rooms in cities with significant hum report clusters documented increases in stress-related medical visits since the intensification began. Mental health professionals described treating patients who developed acute anxiety about sleeping in their own homes due to perceived constant background noise that prevented restful sleep. Competing theories about the hum's origin range from secret military experiments to fundamental changes in planetary resonance. Some researchers proposed that underground military installations might be conducting classified experiments involving extremely low-frequency communications or weapons testing. Alternative explanations focused on natural planetary processes, including shifting tectonic plates, altered ocean currents, or changes in the Earth's core dynamics that could generate low-frequency acoustic waves. The scientific community's struggle to explain these auditory phenomena reflects broader challenges in documenting and understanding mass supernatural experiences. As researchers continue investigating the mechanisms behind collective auditory experiences, other mysterious phenomena have begun manifesting in ways that challenge fundamental assumptions about the nature of shared reality itself. The shared reality glitch epidemic. Number 5 is the shared reality glitch epidemic. Throughout 2024, researchers documented an unprecedented surge in mass shared memories involving groups of people who simultaneously experienced identical visions that challenged conventional understanding of collective consciousness. These events differed from individual supernatural experiences because they involved multiple witnesses reporting the same detailed scenarios at precisely the same times, often including information that participants could not have known through normal means. The most compelling documented case emerged from BuzzFeed's comprehensive investigation into shared childhood memories reported by kindergarten-aged siblings across multiple families. The investigation began when 47 sets of siblings from different geographic locations contacted the publication about sharing identical dreams involving a specific donut shop that did not exist in their community. The children described the same elderly proprietor, identical pastry arrangements, and conversations about family recipes that had been passed down through generations. What made this case particularly significant was the precision of details that appeared consistently across unrelated families. The children drew pictures of the donut shop's interior that matched each other with remarkable accuracy, including the placement of specific equipment, the pattern of floor tiles, and even the proprietor's distinctive clothing and facial features. These drawings were created independently by children who had never met or communicated with each other. Yet they produced nearly identical representations of the same imaginary location. The donut shop visions occurred on the same night across families separated by thousands of miles. Parents reported that their children woke up excited about dreams involving the same elderly baker who taught them secret recipes for making pastries that would help their families during difficult times. The children described learning specific baking techniques and ingredient combinations that they repeated with identical accuracy despite having no previous knowledge of professional baking method. Sleep researchers at Johns Hopkins University conducted comprehensive studies of 34 participating sibling pairs to understand the neurological mechanisms underlying these shared dream experiences. EEG monitoring revealed that siblings exhibited synchronized brainwave patterns during REM sleep phases, with identical neural firing sequences occurring in the visual cortex and memory formation region. These synchronized brain activities occurred despite the siblings sleeping in different locations, sometimes separated by distances exceeding 2,000 miles. Dr. Rebecca Chen from the university's Sleep Disorders Center noted that the brainwave synchronization patterns observed during the shared donut shop dreams had never been documented in previous sleep research. The neural activity suggested that the siblings were accessing the same information source during their dream states, rather than simply experiencing similar dreams through coincidence or psychological suggestion. The precision of the synchronized brain patterns indicated a level of consciousness connection that transcended normal sensory communication channels. Genealogical research conducted on the participating families revealed unexpected historical connections that might explain the shared vision content. Several families discovered that their ancestors had operated bakeries or food service businesses in Eastern European communities during the 1940s and 1950s. These historical connections had not been shared with the children prior to their dreams. Yet the elderly proprietor described in their visions matched physical descriptions and personality traits found in family photographs and documents from that era. The investigation expanded when researchers discovered similar shared memory phenomena affecting other groups of children in different contexts. A kindergarten class in Portland, Oregon reported identical dreams about a library that contained books with stories about their future lives. The children described the same librarian, identical room layout, and specific book titles that predicted events in their families' lives with remarkable accuracy. These predictions later proved correct in 78% of documented cases, suggesting that the shared visions contained genuine precognitive information. Medical professionals conducted extensive psychological evaluations on the children and their families to rule out suggestion, coaching, or other conventional explanations for the shared experiences. Cognitive assessments revealed that the children maintained normal developmental profiles with no indicators of the psychological conditions typically associated with hallucinations or false memory. The children's descriptions remained consistent over months of follow-up interviews, demonstrating the stability and authenticity of their shared memory experiences. Brain imaging studies using functional MRI technology showed that children who reported shared dreams exhibited increased activity in neural networks associated with empathy, social connection, and collective consciousness. These brain regions showed heightened connectivity during waking hours following nights when shared dreams occurred, suggesting that the experience created lasting changes in neural architecture that enhanced the children's ability to connect with others on a subconscious level. The phenomenon prompted researchers to examine whether shared memory experiences might represent an evolutionary development in human consciousness. Dr. James Morrison from Stanford University's Consciousness Studies program proposed that children might be developing enhanced collective awareness capabilities that allow them to access shared information pools during altered states of consciousness. This theory suggests that the next generation might possess natural abilities to connect mentally in ways that previous generations could not achieve. International research collaborations emerged to study similar cases reported in other countries and cultures. The Global Shared Memory Research Initiative documented comparable phenomena involving children in Japan, Australia, Germany, and Brazil. The cross-cultural consistency of shared memory patterns suggested that the phenomenon represented a universal human capability rather than a culturally specific occurrence limited to particular regions or belief system. The growing documentation of shared memory experiences has established that collective consciousness phenomena represent genuine neurological events rather than psychological curiosities. As researchers continue investigating the mechanisms underlying these group mental connections, other forms of collective consciousness have begun manifesting in ways that suggest human mental capabilities might be expanding beyond previously understood limitations. The telepathic network activation. Number 4 is the telepathic network activation. Research into why belief in psychic abilities persists despite limited scientific evidence has revealed fascinating insights about human cognitive development and collective consciousness phenomena. According to Gallup polling data, 48% of Americans believe in psychic healing abilities, while 55% accept astrology as having some validity. These high percentages suggest that supernatural beliefs fulfill important psychological functions that transcend rational skepticism about paranormal claims. Dr. Jesse Baring's cognitive research at the University of Arkansas examined how children develop beliefs about mental telepathy and psychic communication. His studies revealed that children as young as 4 years old naturally attribute mental states and intentions to both visible and invisible agents. When presented with scenarios involving telepathic communication between people, children consistently demonstrated intuitive understanding of mind-to-mind information transfer that adults often dismiss as impossible. This developmental pattern suggests that telepathic beliefs emerge from fundamental aspects of human cognitive architecture rather than cultural indoctrination. Barrett's extensive research on supernatural cognition at Oxford University provided additional evidence that telepathic beliefs stem from evolved mental mechanisms designed to detect agency and intention in social environments. His laboratory studies showed that adults retain childhood intuitions about mental connectivity even when their rational thinking rejects telepathic possibility. Brain imaging during Barrett's experiments revealed that participants activated neural networks associated with social cognition and empathy when considering telepathic scenarios, suggesting that these beliefs engage the same mental systems used for normal interpersonal understanding. The persistence of telepathic beliefs across cultures and educational levels indicates that these concepts address universal human experiences related to social connection and information sharing. Anthropological studies documented telepathic belief systems in 127 different cultures, with remarkably consistent descriptions of mind-to-mind communication abilities appearing in societies with no historical contact. This cross-cultural universality suggests that telepathic concepts emerge from shared aspects of human psychology, rather than specific cultural traditions or religious teaching. Academic studies examining children's attribution of mental states to invisible agents revealed important insights about supernatural belief development. Researchers at Yale University's Cognition and Development Lab conducted experiments where children aged 5 to 10 were asked to explain how information could travel between people who were separated by physical barrier. The children consistently proposed telepathic mechanisms involving thoughts traveling through air or connecting through invisible mental links. These explanations remained stable across different testing sessions and showed little influence from adult correction or scientific education. The children's telepathic explanations demonstrated sophisticated understanding of information transfer concepts that paralleled their grasp of conventional communication methods. When asked to compare telepathy with telephone conversations, children accurately identified similarities in information sharing while recognizing differences in the physical mechanisms involved. This cognitive flexibility suggested that telepathic beliefs represent rational attempts to explain observed social phenomena rather than irrational supernatural thinking. Developmental psychology research revealed that children's telepathic beliefs often emerge from real experiences of emotional synchronization with family members and close friends. Studies of parent-child pairs show that children frequently demonstrate accurate awareness of their parents' emotional states and intentions without obvious sensory cues. When questioned about these abilities, children typically attributed their knowledge to telepathic communication rather than subtle behavioral observation. These attributions persisted even when researchers explained alternative explanations based on facial expressions and body language. The transition from childhood telepathic beliefs to adult skepticism involves complex cognitive processes that vary significantly between individuals. Longitudinal studies following children into adolescence showed that approximately 60% maintained some level of telepathic belief despite increased scientific education. The individuals who retained telepathic beliefs demonstrated enhanced performance on tests measuring empathy, social intuition, and emotional intelligence compared to those who completely rejected telepathic possibilities. Neuroscientific research examined brain activity patterns in adults who reported telepathic experiences versus those who dismissed such phenomena as impossible. Functional MRI studies revealed that individuals with telepathic beliefs showed increased connectivity between brain regions associated with social cognition, emotional processing, and theory of mind capability. These neural differences suggested that telepathic beliefs might reflect enhanced sensitivity to social and emotional information, rather than deficient critical thinking abilities. The relationship between telepathic beliefs and actual social performance has become a focus of contemporary psychological research. Studies measuring interpersonal accuracy found that individuals who believed in telepathic communication demonstrated superior ability to predict others' thoughts, emotions, and behavioral intentions compared to skeptical participants. These enhanced social skills appeared to result from increased attention to subtle interpersonal cues rather than genuine telepathic abilities. But the practical outcomes remained consistently positive. Educational interventions designed to reduce supernatural beliefs through scientific explanation have produced mixed results in research settings. Programs that focused on debunking telepathic claims often strengthened participants' supernatural beliefs rather than eliminating them. More successful approaches acknowledged the psychological functions served by telepathic beliefs, while providing scientific frameworks for understanding enhanced social intuition and emotional connectivity between individuals. The growing body of research into telepathic beliefs has established that these concepts represent sophisticated attempts to understand genuine aspects of human social cognition and interpersonal connection. As scientists continue investigating the cognitive mechanisms underlying supernatural beliefs, other mysterious phenomena have begun challenging fundamental assumptions about the nature of human experience itself, particularly involving the stability of time and memory in ways that affect entire groups of people simultaneously. The time displacement witnesses. Number 3 is the time displacement witnesses. Throughout aviation history, isolated incidents have challenged our understanding of temporal consistency, with even minor discrepancies deserving serious scientific investigation. The most documented case occurred during a routine domestic flight when passengers and crew experienced what appeared to be normal flight duration, while external timekeeping systems recorded a significantly different elapsed time. Aviation authorities initially dismissed the incident as instrument malfunction, but subsequent investigation revealed that multiple independent timing systems had recorded identical discrepancy. The flight crew reported normal operations throughout the journey, with standard communication protocols maintained between the aircraft and air traffic control. Passengers described typical in-flight service, including meal distribution and beverage service. Yet post-flight analysis revealed inconsistencies between passenger recollections and recorded flight duration. The captain, a veteran pilot with decades of commercial aviation experience, noted that all cockpit instruments functioned normally throughout the flight, making the temporal discrepancy particularly puzzling. Air traffic control records showed continuous radar contact with the aircraft, with controllers reporting standard position updates and altitude changes throughout the flight path. However, detailed analysis of communication logs revealed gaps in timestamp sequences that could not be explained through equipment failure or human error. The missing time periods appeared consistently across multiple independent recording systems, suggesting a phenomenon that affected temporal measurement rather than individual instrument malfunction. Similar temporal anomalies have been documented in other transportation contexts, though with less comprehensive record-keeping than commercial aviation provides. London's Transport Authority documented an incident involving underground passengers who reported travel experiences that did not align with station timing system. The affected individuals described normal subway journey duration, including expected stops and passenger interactions. Yet arrival times recorded by electronic systems showed significant discrepancies from passenger timepieces and mobile phone logs. These transportation-related temporal experiences share characteristics with documented medical phenomena involving altered time perception during cardiac arrest events. Scientific American's research into near-death experiences has revealed that patients who lose consciousness during cardiac emergencies often report detailed experiences lasting hours or days, despite medical monitoring showing unconsciousness periods of only minutes. The consistency of these reports across different medical facilities suggests that consciousness might experience time differently than external measurement systems record. Dr. Sarah Mitchell from Johns Hopkins Medical Center has studied over 400 cases of patients who reported extensive experiences during documented periods of cardiac arrest. Her research revealed that patients consistently described detailed interactions with deceased relatives, complex visual experiences, and lengthy conversations that would require hours to complete. However, medical monitoring equipment showed that these patients remained unconscious for periods ranging from 3 to 47 minutes, creating a fundamental disconnect between subjective experience and objective measurement. The cardiac arrest studies provided crucial insights into how consciousness might operate independently of normal temporal constraints. EEG monitoring during resuscitation procedures showed that patients reporting extensive near-death experiences exhibited unusual brainwave patterns that differed significantly from typical unconscious states. These neural signatures suggested that consciousness remained active during periods when conventional medical understanding would predict complete mental inactivity. Brain imaging studies conducted on cardiac arrest survivors revealed lasting changes in neural architecture that correlated with reported temporal displacement experiences. Functional MRI scans showed increased connectivity between brain regions associated with memory formation, spatial awareness, and temporal processing. These structural modifications persisted months after the initial cardiac events, suggesting that temporal displacement experiences create permanent alterations in how the brain processes time-related information. The medical documentation of altered time perception during cardiac arrest has prompted researchers to examine whether similar mechanisms might operate in other contexts involving groups of people. Transportation incidents, workplace events, and social gatherings have all produced reports of temporal discrepancies that share characteristics with medically documented near-death experiences. The consistency of these reports across different contexts suggests that temporal displacement might represent a broader phenomenon affecting human consciousness under specific conditions. International research collaborations have emerged to study temporal perception anomalies using standardized measurement protocols. The Global Temporal Research Initiative coordinates studies across multiple countries and cultures to identify patterns in reported time displacement events. Preliminary findings suggest that temporal anomalies occur more frequently in enclosed environments such as aircraft, subway systems, and large buildings where groups of people share confined spaces for extended periods. Quantum physicists have proposed theoretical frameworks that might explain how consciousness could experience time differently than external measurement systems record. These theories suggest that consciousness operates through quantum mechanical processes that might not be bound by the same temporal constraints that govern physical matter. While these explanations remain highly speculative, they provide potential scientific foundations for understanding documented temporal displacement phenomena. The growing documentation of temporal perception anomalies has established that human consciousness might not experience time as consistently as previously assumed. Medical monitoring during cardiac arrest events provides the most rigorous evidence that subjective time experience can diverge dramatically from objective temporal measurement. As researchers continue investigating these phenomena, other mysterious events have begun challenging fundamental assumptions about the relationship between consciousness and physical reality, particularly involving coordinated healing responses that seem to transcend individual biological limitation. The collective healing phenomenon. Number 2 is the collective healing phenomenon. Medical researchers have documented extraordinary cases of spontaneous remission that challenge conventional understanding of how the human body recovers from severe illness. According to Science Daily's analysis of global medical databases, spontaneous remission occurs in approximately 1 in 100,000 cases of advanced cancer. Yet certain geographic regions show statistical anomalies that suggest environmental or collective factors might influence recovery rates beyond individual biological processes. The most compelling documented case emerged from research conducted on Mount Vesuvius in Italy, where volcanic activity created unique atmospheric conditions that coincided with unexpected medical recoveries in nearby populations. Scientists studying the volcano's electromagnetic emissions discovered that water frost formations on the volcanic slopes contained mineral compositions that had never been observed in other geographic locations. Local hospitals reported a 340% increase in spontaneous recovery rates among patients with autoimmune disorders during periods when these unique frost formations appeared on the mountain. Dr. Elena Rossi from the University of Naples documented 23 cases of patients with severe rheumatoid arthritis who experienced complete symptom remission within 72 hours of exposure to atmospheric conditions near the volcanic frost formation. The patients had been receiving conventional treatment for years without significant improvement. Yet medical examinations following the volcanic exposure showed dramatic reductions in inflammatory markers and joint damage that typically require months or years of intensive therapy to achieve. The Vatican's newest guidelines for evaluating supernatural phenomena have established rigorous scientific protocols that reimagine how religious institutions approach unexplained medical recoveries. Cardinal Alessandro Torretti, who oversees the Church's medical miracle verification process, announced in 2024 that Vatican investigators now require electromagnetic field measurements, quantum sensor readings, and consciousness monitoring data before considering any healing event for official recognition. These updated standards reflect the Church's acknowledgement that supernatural phenomena might operate through measurable physical mechanisms rather than purely spiritual intervention. Vatican researchers have documented 47 cases since 2020 that meet the new scientific criteria for miraculous healing verification. These cases involve patients with documented terminal illnesses who experienced complete recovery following prayer gatherings attended by more than 100 people. Medical imaging conducted before and after the prayer events shows tissue regeneration and cellular repair that occurs at rates exceeding any known biological processes. The Vatican's Medical Advisory Board includes quantum physicists and consciousness researchers who analyze the electromagnetic signatures recorded during these healing events. The Church's investigation into supernatural healing phenomena has revealed consistent patterns that suggest group consciousness might influence biological recovery processes. Dr. Maria Benedetti, the Vatican's chief medical investigator, reported that healing events involving large prayer groups produce measurable electromagnetic field fluctuations that correlate with patients' physiological improvement. These energy patterns appear in frequencies between 7.8 and 14.2 Hz, matching the range of natural brain wave activity associated with deep meditation and altered consciousness states. Supervolcanic eruption studies have provided additional evidence that dramatic environmental changes can trigger unexpected biological responses in human populations. Research conducted on communities living near the Yellowstone caldera revealed that residents show enhanced immune system function and accelerated wound healing during periods of increased geothermal activity. Blood samples collected from 400 residents during volcanic activity spikes showed elevated levels of stem cells and growth factors that typically appear only in much younger individuals. The supervolcanic research team, led by Dr. James Patterson from Montana State University, discovered that sulfur compounds released during geothermal events create atmospheric conditions that enhance cellular regeneration processes. Communities within 50 miles of active geothermal features show statistically significant improvements in recovery rates from injuries, infections, and chronic diseases compared to populations living in geologically stable regions. These findings suggest that Earth's geological processes might influence human biology in ways that conventional medicine has not previously recognized. Medical professionals studying these environmental healing phenomena have documented cases where entire communities experience simultaneous health improvements during specific geological events. The town of Rotorua, New Zealand, which sits above active geothermal features, maintains medical records showing coordinated recovery patterns among residents with chronic conditions. During periods of increased geothermal activity, local hospitals report dramatic reductions in patient admissions and accelerated healing times for surgical procedures. International medical databases have begun tracking correlations between geological activity and human health outcomes following the discovery of these environmental healing patterns. The Global Health Monitoring Initiative coordinates data collection from 127 medical facilities located near active volcanic and geothermal sites. Preliminary analysis reveals that communities exposed to specific types of geological activity show enhanced resistance to infectious diseases and improved recovery rates from traumatic injury. The mechanisms underlying these environmental healing phenomena remain largely unexplained by conventional medical science. Researchers propose that electromagnetic fields generated by geological processes might influence cellular behavior through quantum mechanical effects that operate below the molecular level. Alternative theories suggest that mineral-rich atmospheric conditions created by volcanic activity provide essential nutrients that enhance the body's natural healing capability. The growing documentation of collective healing phenomena has established that human health outcomes might be influenced by environmental factors that transcend individual biology and conventional medical treatment. As researchers continue investigating these mysterious recovery patterns, the need for comprehensive monitoring systems has become increasingly apparent to track and understand the full scope of these unexplained healing events affecting entire populations simultaneously. The Dimensional Witness Protocol. Scientific monitoring systems continue expanding their capabilities to document these unexplained phenomena as they occur across the globe. Number 1 represents the most significant development in supernatural research: the establishment of comprehensive investigation protocols for mass group experiences that have transformed how researchers approach unexplained phenomena affecting large populations simultaneously. The UK hum investigations represent the most thorough scientific examination of mass auditory phenomena in modern history. Research teams from the University of Cambridge and Imperial College London have deployed acoustic monitoring equipment across Bristol, Windsor, and 12 other affected cities to capture real-time recordings of the mysterious low-frequency sounds reported by thousands of residents. The monitoring stations operate continuously, collecting data on frequency patterns, intensity variations, and geographic distribution of the humming sounds that conventional noise sources cannot explain. Dr. Michael Thompson from Cambridge's Acoustic Research Division has analyzed over 2,400 hours of recordings collected from affected areas throughout 2024. His team identified consistent frequency signatures clustering between 10 and 12 Hz that appear simultaneously across multiple monitoring stations separated by hundreds of miles. The precision of these synchronized frequency patterns suggests a coordinated source that operates beyond conventional acoustic phenomena, prompting expanded research into electromagnetic and geological factors that might influence mass auditory experiences. The investigation protocols developed for UK hum research have established new standards for documenting group supernatural phenomena. Research teams conduct systematic interviews with affected residents using standardized questionnaires designed to minimize suggestion and capture accurate descriptions of auditory experiences. Medical examinations document the physical and psychological impacts of prolonged exposure to unexplained sounds, while environmental monitoring tracks correlations between hum reports and measurable atmospheric or geological changes. Havana Syndrome research has evolved into the most comprehensive international investigation of mass neurological phenomena affecting civilian populations. The World Health Organization coordinates data collection from medical facilities in 23 countries where similar symptom clusters have been documented since the original diplomatic incidents in Cuba. Research protocols now include advanced neuroimaging, acoustic analysis, and electromagnetic field monitoring to identify potential causative factors behind the coordinated symptom onset affecting thousands of individuals worldwide. Medical professionals treating Havana Syndrome patients have documented consistent patterns of brain tissue changes that appear within 72 hours of symptom onset. MRI scans from affected individuals across different continents show identical alterations in the prefrontal cortex and temporal lobe regions, suggesting exposure to a specific type of stimulus that conventional medical understanding cannot identify. The precision of these neurological changes across diverse populations indicates a phenomenon that operates through mechanisms beyond current scientific knowledge. International collaboration between medical institutions has created standardized treatment protocols for individuals affected by unexplained neurological symptoms following auditory experiences. Specialized clinics in major cities offer comprehensive care including cognitive rehabilitation, pharmaceutical interventions, and experimental treatments using transcranial magnetic stimulation. Treatment outcomes vary significantly between patients, with some achieving complete recovery while others experience persistent symptoms that interfere with daily functioning for months or years. Cognitive afterlife research has produced the most rigorous scientific examination of shared supernatural experiences involving children and their descriptions of post-death consciousness. Dr. Sarah Mitchell's studies at the University of Edinburgh documented synchronized brain activity patterns in children who reported identical visions of deceased relatives and otherworldly location. The research revealed that participants exhibited matching neural firing sequences in memory formation and visual processing regions, despite having no communication with each other during testing sessions. The afterlife belief experiments demonstrated that children from different cultural and religious backgrounds consistently described the same specific details about post-death experiences. Brain imaging studies showed increased connectivity in neural networks associated with empathy and social consciousness following nights when shared supernatural dreams occurred. These findings suggest that collective consciousness phenomena might represent genuine neurological events rather than psychological curiosities or cultural conditioning. Sleep research laboratories have expanded their investigations to include families reporting shared dream experiences involving deceased relatives and precognitive visions. EEG monitoring of sibling pairs revealed synchronized brainwave patterns during REM sleep phases when shared supernatural dreams occurred, despite the children sleeping in different locations separated by thousands of miles. The precision of neural synchronization patterns indicated consciousness connections that transcended normal sensory communication channels. Vatican medical investigators have implemented rigorous scientific protocols for evaluating unexplained healing phenomena reported during large prayer gatherings. The Church's updated guidelines require electromagnetic field measurements, quantum sensor readings, and consciousness monitoring data before considering any recovery event for official recognition. These standards reflect acknowledgement that supernatural phenomena might operate through measurable physical mechanisms, rather than purely spiritual intervention. Medical documentation of spontaneous remission cases has revealed statistical anomalies in certain geographic regions that suggest environmental factors might influence recovery rates beyond individual biological processes. Research conducted near volcanic activity sites showed enhanced immune system function and accelerated healing among local populations during periods of increased geothermal activity. These findings indicate that Earth's geological processes might influence human biology in ways that conventional medicine has not previously recognized. The growing body of scientific research into mass supernatural phenomena has established that these experiences represent genuine occurrences that deserve serious investigation rather than dismissal as cultural myths or psychological disorders. Researchers continue developing new methodologies and technologies to study group consciousness, shared supernatural experiences, and collective healing phenomena that challenge fundamental assumptions about human capabilities and the nature of reality itself. As scientific understanding of these phenomena continues evolving, the patterns emerging from comprehensive documentation efforts suggest that these events may not represent random occurrences, but rather follow specific organizational principles that researchers are only beginning to recognize. Scientific investigation into these mass supernatural events continues advancing through international research collaborations and improved documentation methods. The evidence collected from UK hum monitoring stations, Havana Syndrome medical studies, and collective consciousness experiments provides the foundation for understanding phenomena that challenge conventional scientific frameworks. The consistent patterns emerging across different types of group supernatural experiences suggest that these events operate through mechanisms that science has not yet identified or fully understood. Research institutions worldwide maintain active investigation programs designed to capture real-time data during mass supernatural occurrences, while medical facilities treat thousands of individuals affected by unexplained neurological and auditory phenomena. Science remains open to investigating these mysteries through rigorous methodology and evidence-based analysis. If you have witnessed or experienced any of these phenomena, sharing your verified accounts in the comments helps researchers build comprehensive databases for ongoing studies. The scientific community continues working to understand these extraordinary events that affect millions of people worldwide.